And now, from the Career Tech Studios in Stillwater, here's your host, Rob McClendon.
Across the country, pharmacy robberies are on the rise, partly because of the increasing demand for prescription drugs. According to law enforcement, prescription painkillers rank second behind marijuana as the country's most common illegal drug problem. Prescription drug abuse cuts across all age groups and economic classes, oftentimes sneaking up on people and taking over their lives.
That I stand before you today at peace with the past and looking forward to the future.
As a Division I basketball coach, Sean Sutton is no stranger to press conferences, but not like this.
Shortly, I will stand before a judge and plead guilty to unlawfully obtaining and possessing prescription drugs for non-medical purposes.
Arrested in February of 2010, Sutton is part of an alarming trend: addiction to prescription drugs.
Well, we have really seen it become an epidemic nationwide, not just in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics Mark Woodward says abusing prescription drugs is not only illegal, but often deadly.
Last year in Oklahoma, we had 643 drug-related deaths, and 86% of those involved prescription drugs.
After his arrest, Sutton entered an intensive drug rehab, spending the next 115 days at the Cirque Lodge in Sundance, Utah.
Certainly this sounds horribly callous, but prescription medications are almost like job security for the treatment industry. It is a plague in our nation.
Gary Fisher is the treatment facility's director and says 10 years ago, 70% of those seeking treatment at Cirque Lodge were there for alcohol abuse or addiction. But today, those numbers have flipped. According to Fisher, 70% of his patients are now in treatment for prescription medication problems.
Do I see heroin cases? Sure. Do I see cocaine cases? Sure. Do I see alcoholism? Sure. But what I'm telling you that I see is I see prescription medication problems, and all of these problems start with, it's typically fairly harmless. Somebody walks in, they've got a little back pain, they've had they've had a migraine headache, whatever. They come in and all of a sudden they take that medication and the sky's bluer, and I feel better about myself, and until the point that we say in treatment, it worked for us until it didn't.
There's a lot of people who, in many cases, put hundreds of miles on their car going to multiple doctors. They may live in Oklahoma City, but they may drive as far north as Stillwater and as far south as Pauls Valley, from Shawnee to El Reno, all in the same day, going to multiple doctors. They're convinced they need this medicine, but their own doctor has cut them off, saying, let's try, some over-the-counter stuff and the heating pad for a while. But they're convinced they need the prescription drugs, and so they even know that they're doing wrong when they're going to multiple doctors and going far away. But they think if I go far enough away, the doctors won't know me, and so they can fly under the radar. What they don't realize is here in Oklahoma we've got a unique system. It's called the PMP, which is the Prescription Monitoring Program. It was started here at the Bureau of Narcotics in 1990. It's a tool for medical professionals. If they suspect somebody is potentially trying to scam them to get prescription painkillers, they can simply go back to their computer and log into our system and see what this patient is getting through our system. And it can show that they're going to 5, 10, 15 more doctors. And it will help them understand that this is not somebody here in pain who needs my help. This is somebody who's clearly doctor shopping and tried and defeated addiction. And it's not so that they can call the police and have this person arrested. It's actually so we don't have to get involved. It's so that this doctor can sit them down and say, look, I've seen your prescription history. You're going to multiple doctors that you weren't telling me about. I think there's something else going on here. And oftentimes that's what gets this person to realize, I just got caught. That shame, that embarrassment that finally gets them to admit I got a problem.
Idle time is no good for anybody. And when you're not doing things productively every day, you don't feel good about yourself.
And it is a problem that often does not end up in rehab. In January, the last suspect was sentenced following a long-term investigation of a widespread OxyContin trafficking operation based in Norman. According to court documents, 24 individuals were involved in a drug ring that went from doctor to doctor obtaining OxyContin that they then sold on the street.